Hey everybody, so we're going to take a view from above and we're going to talk about this technique, and the technique is called a view from the above. And I do this probably once or twice a week because it does require some imagination. In the beginning, to get used to it, you might have to do it every day, which actually is a lot of fun. I'll typically do this when I want to feel more gratitude, or if I have a problem, I'm working on something and I can't find a solution, and I have to find a way to transform myself that will enable me to come up with a solution. Because obviously, if you have a problem and you try to solve it at the level that you're generally just going to end up feeling frustrated. So this technique, a view from the above, not only gives me insight into myself and the problem that I'm facing, but it actually makes it feel like it's not as critical as it appears to be. So let's talk about a view from the above. And it was developed by the Stoics around the Hellenistic period. And if you're a movie junkie like me, then if you've ever watched the movie Gladiator with Russell Crowe and Joaquin Phoenix pre-Joker, you'll see a portrayal of this character, the king, called Marcus Aurelius, and he was one of the most famous Stoics. He made it very popular, and Stoicism, the easiest way to think about it is that it was the first branch of contemporary philosophy that viewed materialism and the pursuit of wealth as a obstacle to connection to yourself and others around you and to being a good person. Because when it comes to the pursuit of status and power, sometimes there's these like unbridled emotions that just they run rampant, right? They take you over. All of a sudden it's ego. You start comparing yourself to other people, and then it just becomes this frenzy that is sometimes very difficult to back away from. And the Stoics viewed this unbridled emotion as being not a good thing, right? It's something that just doesn't lead to anywhere, and you'll never be satisfied with what you have. So this technique of view from the above is going to take you away from all of that. And I'm going to teach you or do it the way I do it. And if you don't vibe with that, I'm sure that there's a book somewhere that you can read that is a little more, relevant to you. So the way that I typically end up doing it is that I'll do it in the morning. So you can do this sitting, standing, laying down, just make sure you're kind of awake. Typically I'll do it when I'm drinking coffee. So imagine you're drinking coffee. And you're drinking coffee, and imagine that there's a camera on the side of you, and you are the director of this camera. So you are looking at yourself from the side. And now you're going to take the camera and place it above you. So you're sitting there drinking your coffee, and now you can see yourself drinking coffee, perhaps in the kitchen. Maybe you see the fridge, maybe you see the couch. And now you're going to go up a little bit higher, and imagine that the roof of wherever you live is gone. So now you can see maybe other members of your household. You can see perhaps your partner, your pet, maybe your friends have come over. You can see kind of this activity happening in your house, and you're still sitting there drinking coffee. And now you're going to take it up a little bit higher. And now perhaps you can see, if you live in a condo or a house, you can see your entire building, right? You can see other people in the building getting ready for their day. They're having breakfast. They're chatting with their the person next to them. They're drinking their coffee or their tea, and all this activity is kind of happening, and you're still there drinking your coffee, and then you take it up a little bit higher. And now you can see not only the condo, but perhaps you can see the block of your city, and you can see the community in your city, and strangers and people going on about their day. They're buying things, they're going to work, they're driving, perhaps this is their day off and they're just walking, so you see all of this happening. You're still drinking your coffee. And then you go up a little bit higher, and now maybe you can see 3 or 4 blocks of the city. And now you go up even higher. Maybe you can see the entire city that you live in, and you're still sitting there drinking your coffee. And maybe you go a little bit higher, and not only can you see the city, but maybe you see the whole state. And then you go higher, and maybe you can see the entire country. And then you go higher, and maybe you can see the entire planet. And then you go higher, and you can see the entire galaxy. And you're still, in all of that, drinking your coffee. So what this will do is, if you do it correctly, one, you do have to use your imagination. But what it manipulates is your sense of perspective and your identity to self. And this is very powerful because if you do it the right way and you really imagine this, it transforms you. And then you get the insight. So it's an actual manipulation of your perspective, and that is what's transformed. All of a sudden, you can see the identity you're giving yourself, and you can see the identity you're giving other people and other things, and the values you're giving those things and those people and yourself, and kind of what you're labeling it. It gives you a third person perspective. With astronauts, they have this thing called the overview effect, where when they go up into the space shuttle and they see Earth from that vantage point, they see it as one thing. All of a sudden, they're into a state of awe. And when you have these little moments of awe, again, that insight that you get into yourself, all of a sudden it gets transformed. You start to look at things different, value things differently. There's also the Solomon effect. So if you ever been to a psychiatrist or a psychologist or a counselor, they'll do something very similar, where if you're having a problem, they're like, okay, well, what if you were a friend to yourself and you were talking to yourself in third person, and you were saying like, okay, Eddie, you have this problem, and Eddie, you need to kind of do this to think about it, or Eddie, this might be how you're feeling, but if you kind of look at the resources you have over here and what's going on over here, maybe you can come up with something. And then all of a sudden they're able to find relevant solutions to what it is that they're facing in a very objective manner. So it'll take away a lot of the frustration. It'll take away a lot of the anxiety. It's fantastic for the imagination, and you can do it anywhere at any time. Again, I like to visualize it as if it were a movie, just because that's kind of my framing when I think of things. But you can think of it any way that you choose. And again, you are manipulating your perception, your perspectival, like what you are doing and experiencing, and you're manipulating yourself in the sense that you are being able to step back and look at the identity you have given yourself in whatever it is that you're experiencing. And you'll find that it's actually quite beneficial. It's kind of trippy if you do it correctly, because you have almost this out-of-body experience. Now, there is one thing to be careful of that I'm not going to chat about right now, because it would just be a much longer video. But if you are of the nihilistic sort, you have to be careful, because of a view from the above, which can create this fantastic connection. It can kind of, make you more aware and focus your attention correctly, can become detrimental, because it can become a view from nowhere. And you don't want that one. Having said that, there's a reason why if you experience that might be occurring. So I hope that helps. A view from the above. You take yourself, you start at one level, you go high, you go higher, you go higher, you go higher, until you're seeing everything, and then you are in this mix of all of this cosmic interaction, so to speak, or physical interaction if you want to be less granola about it. All right, talk to everybody a little bit later. Bye.